They're going to go to fucking federal prison. Federal fucking prison.
The sports betting scandal that has swept across pro sports in recent weeks looks like it may have hit the UFC. And actually, this would be the second time that this would have hit the UFC in recent years, because here, a fight between Yadier Del Valle and Isaac Dulgarian, which ended in a first-round submission for Del Valle, was very sus. Because here's the finish right there. And we'll get to the rest of it in a second, but this is the finish right here. You look here, he's trying to fight it. He's trying to fight it. That choke does not look, watch. The choke does not look very tight. It's not really on the neck. It's not all the way on the jaw to be a face crank. And he just, look, it doesn't even look that tight. And he taps. That by itself looks very, very, very suspicious. But when you consider the fact that this is what's going on, is Dulgarian went from a -240 to a -160 in under an hour before the fight. Says nothing confirmed here, honestly, but I am hearing that there's something going on with Dulgarian versus Del Valle. This was before the fight. Not sure if concerns are about a fix or an injury. Friend who works for the Hard Rock says that they got 5 very large bets from different people on Del Valle round 1. Activity was flagged in their system, and apparently there is lots of buzz about it right now. I mean, this is really suspicious. The betting lines moved really fast. Here, Emil Sardarian from Stand 'Em Up says, we may have just witnessed a rigged fight in the UFC again. Dulgarian was not able to get a single takedown. The line moved from -250 to -125 in 2 hours. Round 1 finished. Del Valle went from +850 to +400. That is some serious, serious money getting dropped on a fight like this. And this is just another bullet point on the pro sports betting scandals that have been going around, especially since just last week, FBI Director Kash Patel unveiled a major bust involving NBA players Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and Damon Jones.
Good morning. Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Casa Nostra.
And literally, like, the Italian mob was involved. Now, I don't think the Italian mob was involved in this UFC thing, but I'll tell you who I do think could have been involved. We have James Krause, the ousted, disgraced former UFC fighter and coach who used to be Isaac Dulgarian's head coach. Now, there's a lot to get into. This right here is the old Kanye clip saying James Krause was Isaac Dulgarian's coach.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
This goes back to Derek Minner and James Krause being exposed for fixing a fight because the UFC put out this statement. Now, this was a few years ago. Put out a statement saying, following the fight involving Derek Minner on November 5th, 2022, UFC was informed by sources that suspicious betting patterns had been observed on the fight, very similar to the Isaac Dulgarian fight from tonight. In the weeks following the fight, UFC has been cooperating with multiple ongoing government investigations into the facts and circumstances surrounding that contest. UFC has since advised Krause and the respective managers working with impacted fighters that effective immediately, fighters who choose to continue to be coached by Krause or who continue to train at his gym will not be permitted to participate in UFC events pending the outcome of aforementioned government investigations. Further, UFC has released Derek Minner from the organization, and James Krause has been banned from UFC events for life. And more of the details, it says suspended MMA coach James Krause worked with offshore sportsbooks as a middleman and offered new clients a line of credit and referral kickbacks and took payments through Venmo or PayPal per ESPN. Now, that post is from a while ago from MMA Uncensored. Now, where things start to get tricky here is the fact that James Krause was a student or fighter for Mark Montoya at Factory X. And of course, James Krause eventually opened his own gym in Kansas City. And that is where these scandals started taking shape, and even Brandon Moreno had to find a new gym. But James Krause, following his ban/suspension from the sport, some of his fighters who were no longer allowed to train with him, such as Isaac Dulgarian, who lost in very suspicious fashion tonight. And honestly, even though this is being overlooked, David Onama getting finished in the first round literally never got started. He was a punching bag for 2 or 3 minutes and got finished. I'm not accusing him of any sort of fight fixing, but this was a suspicious fight as well. Both of these guys, David Onama and Isaac Dulgarian, once James Krause was banned from the UFC, moved on to Factory X Muay Thai, where they train with Mark Montoya, who was James Krause's coach. And that's Isaac Dulgarian and David Onama. And this is so suspicious. It's almost not even suspicious. It's almost clear cut that we are seeing professional sports crumble in front of us to see how athletes are making money behind the scenes. You know, bet on my under, I'll pull out with an injury, or take my opponent by first round finish. I'm going to get finished in the first round. And it sucks because these guys are professional athletes. I'm not trying to excuse their despicable, disgusting behavior that fucked people out of money, frankly. But you have these fighters that are getting paid $10,000 to show, $10,000 to win, and they have families to feed and all of that while they're trying to become a big star. And most of them never will. So while I'm not excusing this sort of behavior from somebody like an Isaac Dulgarian or a James Krause or a Derek Minner, you do have to consider that these guys are not making the money that they should be making, the money that they could be making, and that they're just trying to feed their kids. And if I was between a rock and a hard place, I don't know. It just shows you how dire of circumstances a lot of these fighters are in. It's time that something gets done about this, because the UFC, every single time that we're about to break into the I know we're mainstream, but about to be considered like a legitimate mainstream sport, John Jones beats his wife, Conor McGregor gets accused of rape, people getting banned for fixing fights and gambling issues and arrests. It's just right when we're so close to people taking the sport fucking seriously, shit like this happens. And when you consider that the UFC just signed a $7.7 billion deal with Paramount Plus for exclusive broadcasting rights, doubling the income that they had from the ESPN deal that ends at the end of this year. Something must be done. I'm pretty sure nothing will happen, but something must be done. You have to pay referees and judges and fighters more, because people are in dire straits and they are willing to break the law, lie, throw fights, fix fights, for the sake of their family cashing on whatever bet with their fucking life savings because they're between a rock and a hard place. I'm not saying that the fighters are excused from this, but something must be done about this to legitimize our sport. We have to have some sort of solution here where the fighters can make more money and to where people don't have to turn to fixing fights. Because I guarantee you, if people had a livable wage as a UFC fighter where you could fight in the UFC and not have to DoorDash or bartend or some shit like that on the side to fucking feed your kids while you chase this goal, I don't know. We're fucked as a sport. If the sport is fucked if we can't do that. It can't only be the top guys making millions. There has to be more out there. There has to be more money there for these people putting their lives on the line and their long-term health on the line for our sport. I know it sounds like it. I'm not trying to defend these guys, but we're in a rock and a hard place with this sport right here where the UFC's predatory business model does not hold up the sport. They can say we're trying to grow the sport. We're investing in BJJ. We're investing in new regions, power slap. We're investing in combat sports, whatever, Zuffa boxing. Something must be done about the UFC's predatory business structure. And I hate to be this guy banging the drum against the UFC. I feel like I do it a lot on this channel, but they're fucking the sport. And of course, the responsibility falls on people like this, because I guarantee you Isaac Dulgarian is getting picked up by the FBI. It's heavy shit to talk about, considering that this man has a wife and kids, but this man's getting picked up by the FBI. He's catching federal RICO charges. Frankly, he's catching federal charges. That's just what's going to happen. Cash Patel's going to be knocking on this dude's hotel room in Vegas like tonight, because this is an epidemic. Because even the biggest expose creator on YouTube, CoffeeZilla, just posted exposing the gambling epidemic and talks about Stake, FanDuel, DraftKings, Polymarket. And you see some very famous people here in this thumbnail. You have XQC, Aiden Ross, Drake. I don't know who that guy is right there. Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan, Kevin Hart. Gambling is taking a very, very strong hold in our culture. It's affecting everyday things. I mean, people are running up credit card debt on Prize Picks. You know what I'm saying? You have the biggest influencers in the world pushing gambling. Like, of course, they say gamble responsibly. And you should. If you're going to gamble, I don't gamble myself, but if you're going to gamble, you should be doing it responsibly. But they can't say gamble responsibly with predatory strategies towards young people and also potentially fights getting fixed and games getting fixed. And something has to be done here. Frankly, something has to be done here, especially with the UFC. MMA is a sport that I hold so near and dear to my heart. It's changed my life in so many positive ways. But to see the sport that I love so much get corrupted even more than it already is by things like this because of the UFC's predatory pay structure, somebody like Dana White. And I'm not like one of these anti-rich people guys, but when Dana White is gambling $500,000 hands and $5 million in a night with the Nelk boys, but some guy on the prelims fighting in the Apex has to fucking cheat and fix a fight, probably to feed his fucking kids. Like it's insane to me, the fucking crazy timeline that we live on. We're almost to the point of like Trump having a fucking Prize Pick sponsorship. Like that's where we're getting with this. Of course, to bring it all back, this sketchy ass gym, I know that there are very good fighters and good people fighting out of this gym and training and coaching at this gym, but James Krause was directly tied to this gym. And then he started his own and got banned. And those fighters came to the UFC and now they are losing in very suspicious ways. I mean, let's watch this Isaac Dulgarian finish again. It looks like he's trying to sell a fixed fight. Watch. He's like, he got it. Oh no, there it is. I'm not going to look at that. He didn't even fight the other hand. And look, that choke is not even in. I swear to God, that choke is not in. That choke is not in. Look, his hand is still exposed. Like his hand is not even on the bicep to finish the choke. And then watch from the beginning. You see it here. He starts to go belly down and he could have two-hand on the choking arm and he let it happen. He's fighting it. He goes face down, doesn't fight the choking hand. Like he's a professional fighter. He knows exactly what he wants to do if he wanted to try to get out of that choke. Not saying he would have gotten out of that choke. You know, body triangle, fighting that choke is pretty fucking hard. But that looks like a WWE submission. Look, he's like, yeah, I got to tap. And look, it's like not even all, oh my God. This is despicable. And then these guys train at this gym. And frankly, I've seen Mark Montoya give some of the best corner advice that I've ever seen. So when I sit here and now I'm sitting here and borderline accusing him and his fighters of fixing fights, whether it's Dulgarian or Minner had an injury and they decided to cash some money because they knew they were going into the fight compromised, or they need to make some money. I mean, for fuck's sake, man, this sport's being corrupted. It's already corrupt, but it's being corrupted even worse to the point where we can't even take it seriously. You guys are betting money on something that's not real. And of course, I'm not saying this is the case with every UFC fight. That's obviously not the case. Somebody like Alex Pereira, you know, Magomed Ankalaev didn't take a dive against Alex Pereira. He got cracked with an overhand and finished. But when you look at this, a gym like this with a lot of big name fighters, Youssef Salal's in the picture as well. He was cornering tonight. Anthony Lionheart Smith fought out of this gym. We have an epidemic of gambling spreading through the culture, an epidemic of gambling corrupting our sport, and a group of shady people such as James Krause and potentially the people tied to him, like his former fighters Isaac Dulgarian and David Onama, now training with his former coach, Mark Montoya. The sport is headed to a dark, dark place. And this sucks because I was looking at the Paramount deal like, fuck yeah, big money coming into the sport. Some high-level athletes that would have gone to football or baseball or basketball might take a look at MMA because there might be more money to be made. But now we're looking at another fucking gambling scandal in the UFC. Something has to be done. I guarantee you that Isaac Dulgarian will be cut from the UFC come Monday morning. I almost guarantee you that Kash Patel / the FBI is going to knock on Isaac Dulgarian's hotel room in Vegas tonight. I almost guarantee you that hundreds and hundreds of people are going to get subpoenaed. Quick break. If you're loving this video and you want more from Fight Society, click that join button down below to become a channel member today, where you'll get access to members only live streams, behind the scenes vlogs, and all the unfiltered stuff that we don't post to the main channel. Back to the video. And even this right here shows how some of the UFC's business practices are so fucked. Not only their predatory pay structure, the way that they do business with the managers as well, because this right here, this was actually screenshots I took off of Craig Jones's Instagram story like 2 days ago. It says Dominance MMA and Ali Abdelaziz ordered to turn over documents in antitrust lawsuit. The UFC antitrust lawsuit just got more interesting. Dominance MMA, Ali Abdelaziz's management company, was subpoenaed as a part of the case Johnson versus Zuffa LLC. The fighters suing Zuffa and the UFC want Dominance MMA, which is Ali Abdelaziz's management company, to hand over emails and texts with the UFC, negotiations involving fighters, communications about contracts, sponsorships, payments, etc., and anything showing UFC influence or pressure on fighter decisions. And it says right here, does he work for the athlete or the organization? So not only is the UFC business practice and fucked up pay structure making fighters turn to things like illegal gambling, insider trading, whatever you want to call it, so that they can make a buck and feed their kids. I'm not trying to excuse them because it's despicable behavior to do something like that and dupe your fans that support you and potentially put money on you in that way. But also the UFC is potentially in bed with managers like Ali Abdelaziz to manipulate the fighters into accepting bad contracts. And that type of thing, like accepting a bad contract because your manager told you to, even though he was in bed with the UFC, leads to things like this, like Isaac Dulgarian. It's fucked. The sport is so fucked right now. And I don't know how to fix it, but you guys have to hear the truth. Your favorite organization that brings us so many good fights is putting fighters in a position where they have to do this. The fighters that you love and bet your money on, bet your hard-earned money on, are fucking you over by lying and losing fights on purpose so that somebody can make money, whoever gave them a kickback or whoever they know put money against them. It's disgusting. And you guys are being robbed, molested, taken advantage of by the UFC. And you guys need to hear this. I know there's going to be plenty of Dana White defenders in the comments. It happens. People love Dana White. But this is the truth about the organization that puts on the most notable fights in the world. So let me know your thoughts down below. What can be done about this? What should be done about this? Do you want more from Fight Society? Like and subscribe below this video and click the join button to become a channel member today to get access to behind the scenes vlogs and members only live streams.